Have you ever wondered how the strategic landscape of the Israel-Gaza conflict has evolved over time? It's essential to grasp the shifting tactics Israel has employed towards Gaza to truly understand the dynamics of this enduring conflict. This video seeks to offer a chronological journey through these changes, illuminating the complexities of this geopolitical chess game. So let's turn back the hands of time and delve into the past. We begin our journey at the very heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. To truly understand the current strategy, we must first travel back to the origins of the conflict. The seeds of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict were sown in the aftermath of World War II. As the dust from the war settled, a new nation was born: Israel. This creation was a beacon of hope for many Jewish people who had faced unimaginable horrors during the Holocaust. But it was an event that ignited a fire of resistance among Palestinians, who saw their land being given away. The United Nations' decision to partition British-controlled Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Arab, was met with fierce opposition. Palestinians, who were the majority in the region, felt betrayed and sidelined. The stage was set for a clash that would echo down the decades. As Israel declared its independence in May 1948, neighboring Arab countries launched an attack. What followed was a series of wars, intifadas, and peace processes that have shaped the Israeli-Palestinian relationship to this day. The conflict has been marked by periods of intense violence and tentative peace, each side claiming historical and religious rights to the same land. The issues at the heart of this conflict are complex and deeply rooted, ranging from borders and security to refugees and Jerusalem's status. The Gaza Strip, a small piece of land along the Mediterranean Sea, has been a flashpoint in this ongoing struggle. Under Israeli control since the Six-Day War in 1967, it's a locus of tension and conflict. With these historical tensions in mind, we can now begin to understand the evolution of Israel's tactical approach towards Gaza. In the early years, Israel's approach was largely reactive. The nation, fresh from its establishment, was focused on survival, and the strategies it employed reflected that. Indeed, the initial years saw Israel adopt a primarily defensive stance. Its strategies were aimed at safeguarding its borders and ensuring the safety of its citizens from incessant attacks. Israel's military strategy in these formative years centered on deterrence and retaliation. The country believed in demonstrating its strength and willingness to respond to any aggression with force. This was a way of discouraging potential attackers, of sending a clear message: any attack on Israeli soil would not go unanswered. The nation also adopted a policy of fortification. Barriers were erected along the borders, a physical manifestation of the country's determination to protect its people. This was a tangible effort to prevent infiltrations and attacks from neighboring regions. Simultaneously, Israel worked on building diplomatic relationships. It sought the support of global superpowers, leveraging these alliances to garner international backing and legitimacy. This diplomatic strategy was as crucial as its military tactics, serving to reinforce Israel's position on the world stage. Yet, as Israel continued to evolve, so too did its strategies. The country began to realize that a purely reactive approach was not sustainable in the long run. It understood that constant retaliation, while effective in the short term, did not address the root causes of the conflict. This realization led to a shift in Israel's approach. The nation started to explore proactive strategies aimed at preventing attacks before they occurred. It began to invest in intelligence gathering, technology, and other tools that could preempt threats. It started to look beyond immediate retaliation, focusing instead on long-term solutions. In essence, Israel's early strategies were a reflection of its struggle for survival. They were shaped by the need to protect its borders, to ensure the safety of its citizens. But as the nation grew stronger, it started to look beyond survival. It began to seek ways to resolve the conflict, to bring about lasting peace. As the conflict continued, however, Israel began to shift its strategy. In the face of ongoing conflict, Israel's strategy took a decisive turn. This marked a pivotal point in the way Israel approached the situation in Gaza. The tactics moved from a more reactive stance to a proactive one, a shift that was not only necessary but also indicative of the changing dynamics of the conflict. This proactive approach was characterized by two key elements. First, the implementation of preemptive strikes. These were not random acts of aggression, but rather carefully considered moves aimed at disrupting potential threats before they could materialize. This was a game changer. It took the fight to the enemy, disrupting their plans and forcing them to adapt to a new reality. The second element was an increase in border security. This was not just about putting more boots on the ground, it was about utilizing advanced technology, intelligence, and strategic planning to create a robust and efficient defense system. The goal was to make the border as impregnable as possible, to deter any attempts of infiltration or attack. But what led to this shift? Several factors can be pointed out. The escalating violence and the increasing sophistication of the enemy's tactics demanded a new approach. It was becoming clear that a reactive stance was no longer sufficient. The need to protect its citizens and maintain its sovereignty compelled Israel to adopt this proactive strategy. Additionally, the international landscape was changing. The old rules of engagement were evolving, and Israel had to adapt accordingly. The increasing complexities of the geopolitical scenario called for a more assertive and proactive approach. In essence, this shift was not just about changing tactics, it was about a fundamental change in the way Israel perceived and responded to the conflict. It was about taking control of the narrative, dictating the pace of the conflict rather than just reacting to it. Yet, this proactive approach was not the end of Israel's strategic evolution. It was merely a stepping stone, a part of a larger ongoing process of adaptation and innovation. As the conflict continues to evolve, so too must Israel's strategy. In recent years, we have seen a new strategy emerge, a tactical pause. This term might seem contradictory at first, but it encapsulates a nuanced approach to conflict resolution, blending military action, diplomacy, and patience in equal measure. So, what does a tactical pause mean, exactly? It's not about inaction or surrender, but rather a deliberate break in the rhythm of conflict. It's about creating space to reassess and recalibrate strategy, allowing for a deeper understanding of the opponent's perspective and motivations. It's a bold move, demonstrating a commitment to flexibility, adaptability, and learning. This change in strategy didn't happen overnight. It was born out of necessity, a response to the ever-evolving landscape of the Israel-Gaza conflict. The reality on the ground demanded a shift from a purely military-focused approach to one that acknowledges the complexity of the situation, recognizing that military action alone cannot bring about lasting peace. The tactical pause represents a recognition that the conflict is not only about territory or resources, but also about narratives, identities, and deeply ingrained historical grievances. It's about acknowledging the human element of the conflict, the need for dialogue, and the importance of fostering mutual understanding. Moreover, the tactical pause is also a strategic move. It provides an opportunity to regroup, to gather intelligence, and to prepare for the next phase of action if necessary. It's a way of maintaining control over the pace and intensity of the conflict, keeping the opponent off balance and preserving strategic options for the future. However, the tactical pause is not without its risks. It requires a delicate balancing act, navigating the thin line between assertiveness and restraint, between action and patience. It's a gamble, a bet on the possibility of change, of progress, of a better future. In many ways, the tactical pause is a reflection of Israel's evolving understanding of the conflict and its commitment to finding a sustainable solution. It's a strategy that is as much about self-preservation as it is about peacemaking. This tactical pause marks the latest chapter in Israel's strategic evolution, but only time will tell what the future holds. As we have seen, Israel's strategy in Gaza has evolved significantly over the years. From its inception, the conflict was marked by a defensive approach, a stance born from the necessity to protect a nation in its infancy. The early strategies were all about preserving the integrity of the state and ensuring the safety of its citizens. Yet, as the conflict unfolded, the defensive posture could no longer suffice. The landscape of the conflict was changing, and with it, the tactics employed needed a revision. This shift, this transition from a reactive defense to a more proactive approach, marked a significant turning point in Israel's strategy. The proactive shift was not without its consequences. It brought about a new set of challenges, a new set of questions. The necessity to engage, to take the initiative, came with the weight of responsibility and the balancing act of maintaining international relations. Yet it was a step that had to be taken, a move that was deemed necessary in the face of an evolving conflict. And now, we see a further evolution in strategy. The tactical pause, as it is referred to, represents a new phase in this ongoing conflict. A phase that is marked by a calculated and strategic restraint, a pause that is not about inaction, but about measured action. It's about taking a step back, reassessing the situation, and planning the next move with precision and foresight. It's about choosing the battles wisely, and understanding that every action, every decision, has far-reaching implications. In conclusion, the evolution of Israel's strategy in Gaza reflects the intricate and complex nature of this conflict. It underscores the fact that there are no easy solutions, no clear-cut paths. The course of action is dictated by the dynamics of the conflict, the changing landscape, and the need to balance national security with international diplomacy. As we continue to watch the unfolding story of the Israel-Gaza conflict, we must remember that the strategies employed are a reflection of the complex history and ever-changing dynamics of this region.